So welcome to another class, and today we're going to be focusing on the digestive system. So doing lots of work around this main torso area. Be aware that because we are working strongly through the back, the sides and the abdomen, anything that's not comfortable, please stop doing it. I'll give modifications for some things, so take those up if you need to, and be aware that you're doing this class at your own risk. I've got nice warm heaters on today, so hopefully you've got a warm space to practice in with lots of space. You may need to have a strap. We'll be linking the arms behind the back. Block is optional, probably right at the very end of the class, but not crucial. Blanket is nice for the knees or the hips when we're on our stomachs. So they're all things that you might want to have within reach. We're going to start by lying down, and if we can have both legs extended with the toes relaxed out to the sides, arms just beside the body, and then observing what you're feeling in the back of the body. So what sort of space might be here in the lower back? Is there any tension there? So are you unconsciously contracting into that area to protect it? Can you ease that off if that is the case? Notice how it feels when you do that. And then taking the awareness to your breath and begin to expand that breath just a little bit more. So feeling as you breathe in that diaphragm moving down on the inhale, and then on the exhale it should be rising up, so then we can relax the belly to the floor. Get that sense of expansion in your ribs and your chest as you breathe in. And then we'll take both heels in towards the buttocks. So we want the knees bent. And this will help to flatten the back out a little bit on the floor here. So arms will stay beside the body. And now what we're going to do is add a little contraction through our back muscles as we breathe in. There'll be a little pelvic tilt on that breath in to aid that back contraction. Then as we exhale, we're going to relax the back muscles to the floor. Very subtle little pelvic tilt, so pubic bone moving a little bit more towards the navel. And a very gentle contraction through the front abdominals here, so that we're really flattening the back out. So we begin by breathing in, and just a little contraction through the back muscles, enough that I can just slide my hand here underneath the back. And as I exhale, I want to relax those back muscles. Tiny little pelvic tilt, little contraction here at the front, so I'm flattening the back out. And we're going to keep rolling with the breath. And I want you to observe when we tighten on the breath in, what those tight muscles feel like, so that we can consciously relax them on the exhale. So we're just trying to teach the brain to observe when muscles feel tight, and then it will be useful for the brain to then know what's tight so that we can consciously relax it. And you can do this with any part of your body. So if you know that you've got a particular area that is tight quite regularly, unconsciously tight even, contracting those muscles just a little bit more so you can feel what's tight, then you can consciously let it go. So this is called somatic yoga. So it's slow, it's gentle, there shouldn't be any pain. It's just complete awareness of what feels tight. Can you then let it go? Okay, we're going to make this our last round. And then as we exhale, no tension in the belly, no tension in the back. We just soften. Can we relax? All right. So now we're going to get a little bit more stuck into these front abdominal muscles. You can either have your hands beside the body, or if you want a little bit more assistance, you could put the hands underneath. So what that does is it slightly tilts the pelvis, and it's going to make it easier to keep this lower back area more connected with the floor. There might be a little bit of lift, but you shouldn't be over arching into your spine too much. So from here, we'll take the feet off the floor. We're going to keep the knees bent, knees stacked over hips. And when I'm in this position, my back feels pretty flat on the ground. What we'll do is we'll lower the toes almost to the floor, but not quite touching. So you should feel good, strong core work kicking in. There'll be a little tiny little back arch, and then we're going to bring the knees back over the hips. So that's the rest position. So we breathe in, lower the legs down. We exhale, we come back up. Again, if you find that this is too strong, it's not comfortable on your back or your abdomen, then put the hands underneath. This is not a good exercise if you are pregnant, because you're putting too much tension on your uterus. So feel free to keep the feet on the floor and do the little back movement we started with. So I'll just do a couple more of these. Breathing in, coming down. Exhale up. We'll make this one our last one. And we come to the floor and relax. So probably notice some leg muscles got a bit tight. Back certainly was working, and the fronts were working. Hopefully not too much tension in the face. Now, if everything feels fine and you enjoyed that, you can take it up a level. So you could now do this with straight legs. This is a lot stronger. So if you found that this was enough, stay with the bent knees, or just maybe do single toe taps. That's going to have more support. Again, hands underneath the buttocks will make your life more comfortable. So feel free to do that, especially with this stronger one. It might be a good option. So we're going to take the legs up towards the ceiling. We want to keep them straight. We're going to take a breath in, lower the legs just halfway, so like a 45 degrees. And then we exhale, we come back up. So we're going to continue, if we can, to do this. And this is working those lower abdominals, this transverse area. You'll know it will kick in, everything firms up. Observe what you're doing with the back. Is it sort of, when you come down, are we really arching? We want to avoid that. There'll be a little bit of lift, but not too much. Now, if you really want to take this just that little bit extra, try going about 3/4 of the way and then come back up. So we breathe in and out. Don't forget to smile while you do this one. So remember, this is all good work for our digestive system, because the muscles that we're working along around here, we're going to come down, have a rest. That's what supports our digestive system, these deep muscles and the external ones. So if they're in a good, healthy form, they're going to help with the massaging and the movement of food that goes through our intestines and our colon. So we've got to keep these muscles working well to keep our digestive system. All right, from here, let's just go for a little roll side to side with the knees. So we want to relax into the back. And then we'll take both knees into the chest. Nice little squeeze, and we can do a little rock or a roll. And then we'll be making our way over to hands and knees. So from here into our cat pose. So if you want to put a blanket down to support your knees, feel free to set that up. And we're going into our cat-cow roll. Now, if your wrists aren't happy with too much weight bearing, at any time, you could do this on your forearms, or you could try making a fist. So, breath in. We take the sit bones up, a little dip through the back, gaze forwards, and then on the exhale, tailbone down, navel in, head relaxed. So we're just going to flow with our breath, and I'd like you to add that focus on pelvic floor, contraction through the belly, and chin tucked in. On the exhale, inhale, we're going to relax. So now when we exhale, draw up the pelvic floor, draw the navel to the spine, relax the head in, and then when we breathe in, we're going to relax. Now, if you're not quite sure about your pelvic floor, when we exhale, tailbone to pubic bone are pulling in towards each other and the sit bones. Now, when we breathe in, think of relaxing and broadening the sit bones out to soften. So we exhale, we're drawing up between tailbone, pubic bone, sit bones, and everything in between those 4 points is squeezing in and up. And then we relax it down. Elbows are soft, so just check you're not locking out your elbows. One more round. So we call these 3 locks bandhas. Now the next time when we exhale, we're going to hold it up here. I want you to keep breathing, just a half lift with your pelvic floor, and really lift the spine between the shoulder blades. So we want to stretch out across the shoulders, feel that big opening through the back, and then we'll come back to a neutral position. And then easing hips towards the heels, we'll come into our child. So either supporting head on hands or resting head on the floor. Hopefully you can get your hips down much lower than mine. So if you're like me and a little bit stuck a little higher, stack your head up higher so it's a bit more neutral. Now our next movement is to work into the chest, the shoulders and the triceps. So we want to keep our hips above our knees, which means I'm going to take my elbows a little further out to stretch out. Now there's 2 parts to this, so I'll show you 2 parts before you go all the way in. First one is just out how I am. You can interlock hands or palm. You can rest the head lightly on the floor between the elbows. From there, the second part will be lifting the hands to the back of the spine, but that might not suit everyone. So first of all, hips stay over knees, so don't sink all the way back. Rest the head lightly on the floor and reach away through the fingertips to the top of your mat. Now for those who've got really flexy backs, very easy for you to just drop in and sink that chest. I want those people to lift the floating ribs towards the spine, so you've got more of a neutral back. And I'm thinking of extending or lengthening from my elbows all the way back through the hips. Steady breath. If you've got shoulder problems, feel free to come out, have a rest, because this is stronger on the shoulders. If you're okay with this, now we're going to bend at the elbows. And if possible, bring the hands back onto the spine. So we're getting a little bit more opening through our triceps now. Steady breath. Again, don't drop into your lower back. Spine is just long. Focus on your breath. We're going to release the hands back to the floor. Lift the head and walk it back up, and let's take ourselves into a shoulder shrug after that one, and then we'll go the other way. Okay, so we'll be lying down on our stomachs now. For those who've got hips that tend to feel sharp against the floor, again, put a blanket down and have something soft under your hips, and then let's all get down onto the ground. So we're going to be working through back strength, but also doing quite a lot through the obliques and the side waist muscles today. So you want your feet roughly hip width apart, and hands are coming down either side of the chest here or under the shoulders, elbows tucked in. Now you've got the choice. If possible, can we keep the feet relaxed on the floor, lift the head, lift the chest, and lift the arms off the ground? Now if you find that's too strong, keep the hands down, but I don't want you pushing in and coming up higher. So this is very low level. We're trying to get the squeeze here in the lower back, but not too much. We're not overdoing it. So if you've got the hands on the floor, try to keep them as light as you can. We take the gaze forwards, but I've got space here at the back of my neck. I'm stretching away through my toes. I'm breathing, and either hands up or hands down. So this is good upper back strength work. I don't want too much going on in my lower back, so it should be comfortable. All right, we're going to come down, have a little rest. Now you can rest your head on your hands. Some of you might like to have the arms beside the body, head turned off. Just means each time we come down to rest, can you turn the head the other way? So you're just working evenly through your neck. Now, we're going to take that into some squeezing, lateral squeezing. So we're working on the obliques, the side waist muscles. Again, you've got two choices. If you were okay with hands off the floor, you're going to keep the hands off the floor as we squeeze over to one side. But if you want a bit more support, have the hands down, stay the same height though, don't push up. And then what you'll do is as we squeeze to the side, this elbow will come down, other elbow comes up, we're just looking towards the toes. So you're still getting that squeeze, lateral stretch, but don't lift too high. And then when we go the other side, that's going to look like that. So those are your two choices. We are going to do a good 5 squeezes just to the right side, and it's a slow movement with the breath. We'll come down, we'll have a rest, and then we'll do our left side. So feet stay on the floor the whole time. Let's breathe in, lift the head, lift the chest, maybe lift the hands off the floor. So remember, it's not too high. Exhale, squeeze to your right, so we get a good stretch on the left. Breathe back to center. We exhale, squeeze, to the right, not the left, and then we come back to center. So we're just doing the right side first. And we're doing 5 of these. So that's 3, 4. Of course, if you need to come down at any time, you can. 5. So we'll come back to our center. Now have that rest. And it's a true rest. Let every muscle soften as much as you can. All right, let's set up for our left side now. So I'm going to breathe in, lift my head, lift my chest, maybe the hands, or you can keep them down. Exhale to the left. So I'm trying to look towards my toes. I'm going to breathe back to center. So it's a slow breath movement. Should feel this good opening through the right side. You want that good squeeze on the left. We always do the right side first because that's the way the digestive system works. So that's about 5 or 6. We're going to come down and have a rest. So it's good to squeeze through the right because that's where the food comes up, goes across the top of the colon, and then it goes down the left side and heads out towards the elimination canals. So that's why we do right over left first. Now, if you want to take your hips for a little bit of a wiggle, loosen off any tension you might have built in your back, let that go. And then we'll move into a Cobra Pose. So we're going to take the hands a little bit wider than our shoulders, just ahead of the shoulders here. Feet again, stay on the floor. Press down through the tops of the feet. Unless you're prone to cramping, feel free to tuck the toes. We're going to lift the kneecaps, little tilt of the pelvis so I get some more space in my lower back. So think of press studding your pubic bone a bit more to the floor. Then breathe in, lift the head, lift the chest. Use that back strength. And now you can add a little bit more weight through the hands and lift to where you're comfortable. Shoulders down and back, elbows in, gaze forwards, or a little bit higher, but don't drop the head all the way back. Anytime you need to come down, if your back is not happy, please make your way back to the floor. If you can hold, breathe into your front body. We're opening up through the belly, through that front chest. So let's expand the breath there. Shoulder blades hugging down the back. Now we want controlled descent. So use your back strength, a little bit of arm strength to bring yourself back down, and then find your favorite resting position. Slow breathing. Now, we've got a little bit more work to do down here. So for our next squeeze, we're going to take our right knee up and out to the side. So I don't want it too high. Knee roughly around hip height or a little bit lower. You could either have the foot like I have behind the knee, or you could tuck it in towards the other leg. Doesn't matter. This one's going to be a little bit stronger than our first squeeze. So again, you've got choice. Hands off the floor or hands on the floor. You're still going to get the benefit of the squeeze that we want regardless of what you do with your hands. It just depends if you want to add a bit more back strength. So again, we're going to do 5. All look to the right side. We'll have a rest and then we'll change over. We'll do the left. So from here, breathing in, lift the head, lift the chest, maybe lift the hands. Exhale, squeeze to the right. This is trickier. Breathe back to center. And then we squeeze. And we've got 3 more to go. So it's exhaling on the squeeze, inhaling to center. You might not get as much movement through this side. Once we've done that last one, bring the leg back in, come back down, have a rest. One side should feel quite different to the other at this point. Okay, when it feels like it's all pretty settled, let's take our left leg out to the left side. And then from here, breathing in, lift the head, lift the chest, maybe lift the hands, exhale to the left, inhale to center. Exhale to left, inhale to center. And notice, does one side feel quite different from the other? So the muscles got different strengths between the right and left side because that affects our digestive system when we've got imbalances. It's quite normal to be a little bit imbalanced. Okay, let's bring it back in when you've done that 5. Because, you know, if we're right-handed or left-handed, that's automatically going to create an imbalance in how we use our body. Let's go for a little wiggle with the hips. Nice, loose and relaxed. We'll come back to our center. And now we're going back to our child pose. So up to the knees. And then your choice, you can have the knees wide or hip width, big toes touch on both. And then folding, either resting the head on floor or hands. And we're looking to get that space back into our back body and into the side of the ribs. So send your breath into your lower back, into your rib cage. And then from here, we're going to roll over onto our backs. Now, our next posture is called fish pose, Matsyasana. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. So the intention is to open up the front chest here. The full version is quite strong on the neck. So I've got to caution the neck and shoulders for this one. I'll start with the modified versions and then I'll show you the full version. Then you can decide where you want to go. So a modified one, you could use a towel or a blanket. Blankets sometimes get a little bit thick for this. But if you want a really supported version, if you don't want to overstress muscles too much, then you can lie over a slightly folded blanket, have the arms above the blanket, legs are going to be out in front and legs together. So this is the modified version. Very nice. Next one, you've got to work a bit harder. So you won't need a support, you've got to do the work yourself. So you can have arms beside the body. I actually find it easy to put my hands underneath my buttocks, but you can have them out here. Legs out in front. We press down through our elbows and we're going to lift the chest. Now, second modified version, back of the head rests on the floor. So I've got lots of space around my neck. I'm lifting my spine, opening up the chest, shoulders away from ears. The fuller version is lifting higher and taking the head right back onto the crown of the head. So don't do that if you've got neck shoulder problems. So we're lifting the chest still, pressing down through elbows. An optional extra variation is to take those hands, place them on the chest. So now I've really got to work. I'm pushing away through the ball of my feet. I'm breathing into my front body, strengthening into my back. Of course, again, you can come down at any time, but I didn't show you how to come out, so I'll do that now. We press down through the elbows first, lift the head, roll the spine down, and then everything just relaxes. So that's our fish pose. Really good for opening up this whole front body. So if you are into chakras, and this is throat area is the seat for our communication. It's also for where our thyroid, parathyroid glands sit. So if you know you struggle a little bit with communication, you might want to open up the throat. This might be a nice way to do it. Also great for opening up our heart center. All right, from here, let's bend the knees and tuck the knees in. So you can hold behind them, back of the knees or top of knees, and just flat back, tailbone down, shoulders down. So just looking for a little bit of length through the spine. And then we'll ease off on that. And once more, rolling over. So take your time coming up into hands and knee cat position again. So if you want that padding underneath your knees, set that up. And we're going to do another squeeze and work through the side waist of the body. So I'm going to give you two angles. The right side will be coming out first. So we're going to take the right leg out to the right. And I look towards the foot, so I'm leaning a little bit. As I breathe in, this is the breath in here. Sorry, as I exhale, we're going to bring the leg around behind, tracing on the floor all the way, wherever we can. And then I take the gaze and I look towards my toes. And then I'm going to breathe in and come back to here. So we're going to continue doing that. I'll give you a front view. So we bring the foot around, I turn, I rotate, and then I bring it back to the side. And as you warm up, you might want to use it as a bit of a hamstring and a thigh stretch. You can lean a bit more towards that foot or that leg. And we squeeze around. In fact, don't get too caught up on the breath. Just make sure that you are breathing. Okay, we're going to make this our last round. When we bring the leg back, maybe just a little lean over towards that right foot. Feel that nice stretch. And then we'll bring it back in. Now again, people with wrists, either give them a little rotate rest or you can come to forearms. And now we'll take the left leg out. So out to the side, I look to the foot, trace it around, bring it all the way, and try and find the foot the other side. So bring it back and around. No rush. Each time I bring the foot back to the left, I might get a little bit more stretch to my left. Okay, this will be our last one. We're going to take the left foot to the left side and then hold the little lean over to the left. Feel that leg stretch. Okay, bring it back in. Walk the hands back towards the knees. We're actually going to come up to kneel. Readjust the tights if you need to. And we're going to do some tapping. So this is probably not going to be great for the mic. So hopefully not too uncomfortable on your ears. But making a soft fist, I'm going to tap the thymus gland here around the heart. So actually a little bit more towards the left there. Okay, let's take it a little bit wider. And then we're going over towards the armpit on one side. Let's go over to the other side. And then fingers, we're just going to tap around the jaw, around the throat. So we're trying to work on the lymphatic glands. Okay, let's go down the right arm. So we're just cupping. And we come up underneath. So down the top and then underneath. One more. We'll bring it across to the left. It's also good for the skin. But lymphatic fluid is quite interesting. They're still finding things out about it. Okay, we're going to go down the sides of the waist and then down into the inguinal. I always get this name wrong. Inguinal. Oh dear. Anyway, there's lymphatic glands right here, so it's good to stimulate those. We're actually going to come around now to the kidneys at the back and give them a nice little tap as well. Not so much for a lymphatic system there. Okay, and then taking one leg forwards, and we're just going to tap down sides of the leg. Come back up. As we come back up, straighten the leg. So you can bend the knees, you come forwards, straighten the leg as you come back. One more time, coming forwards. Maybe hold the stretch for a moment. If you want to use a brick to have the hands a little higher, you can. All right, and release. Let's do the other side. So, tapping from the top. And as we come back, straightening the leg if possible. Quite firm. You want to get the blood moving. Okay, when we come forwards, well, let's just hold it in that little stretch now if we can. Should feel nice and tingly and alive. All right, and then we'll come from this position to stand. So if possible, tuck the back toes under. Try to avoid pressing on your kneecaps. So you can press on the mid-thigh if you need to press on something. And then we push off the back foot and we sort of push up to get up if we can. Or just get up any way you can. So from here, let's stand in Tadasana, our mountain pose. So you want the feet about hip width, but pointing straight ahead. And then be conscious if you're locking back into your knee joints, can you just add a little bit of softness? Little bit of softness here in the groin, so we're not sort of pushing the hips forwards. And think of very subtly lifting a little bit of the buttocks. Not so much that I overarch, but I definitely don't want to be tucked. And then shoulders back, chin parallel to floor. And then from this space, we'll move into tree pose, Vriksasana. So we're going to balance on our right leg, and it's an external rotation of the thigh and the hip. So we're going to turn that left foot out, left knee out. Now I want to make sure that I don't drop into my right side, so I'm squeezing in, hips are level. And then up to you, you could keep the toes here on the floor. You could put the foot a little higher. You could take it all the way up if it's going to hold. I've got a feeling my pants will be, yep, sliding down. So I'll go lower for this one. And then can you connect the palms, the fingers? And then from here, let's go for a bit more extension, arms overhead if possible. Steady gaze, nice and soft. Really draw up through that supporting right leg. Squeeze the outer hips into the midline of the body. And then we'll bring the hands back down and release the foot to the floor. One foot should feel quite different to the other, so right side's really grounded. Check you've got your left foot straight, that's your base now. We're going to rotate out with the knee, and then your choice of lifting that foot all the way up if it's going to hold there. Try to avoid pressing on your knee joint though. And then once you've found your balance point, hands together, connecting right and left sides of the brain by that physical connection. Let's inhale it up. Relax, soft gaze. But legs are working strong. Steady breath. Now you could use a wall behind you, but you can also have your toes on the ground. Let's take the arms out a little wider and release back to the floor. Awesome. Now we're going to move into Warrior Two. So we'll step the feet out nice and wide. The right side will be turned all the way out 90 degrees, and then I've just slightly rotated my back heel away. We're going to bend into the right knee, and I'm looking to lengthen this inner thigh. So think of the groin, inner right groin, sort of rolling back to the outer knee. So I'm keeping my kneecap in line with my middle toes. And then notice how the hips have turned off a little bit, but I'm going to bring my torso back by that little rotation through my ribs. And then we can float the hands out over the feet. Shoulders relaxed. Have a look. Are the arms the same height? So quite often I see that bottom arm is drifting away because we're not looking at it. So lift it up, check it, and then we can take the gaze down the right middle fingers. Now if you've forgotten about that action from groin to outer knee with your right leg, think about it. Press down through both feet. A little bit more lift through the front sternum. And then we'll release and come back out. So we're just going to pivot the feet straight over to the other side. But you might need to readjust so that the feet have got the same alignment that you had on your right. Bending into our left knee. Again, think of inner groin, rolling back to the outer knee to keep the knee in a good position with the foot. And then let the hips stay as they are. Let's rotate just through the rib cage and float the arms out. Check. Do they look the same height? And then notice how that feels, being the same height. We'll take the gaze down the left hand. Nice lift of the chest. So think of the buttocks relaxing a little bit to the floor. Doesn't mean you're tucking under. We just want to avoid sort of sticking the bottom out too far. So strong breath. Feeling into the lungs as deep as they can. And then release the hands. And we'll release the legs. And we can walk it back in. Now we're going to do Warrior Two again, but we're adding a cow head arm position. So if, like me, you're a little bit tight with the reach, this is where you may want to use something to create that link. So whatever you've got. And we'll be doing the left arm up first. So we're going to take that strap in the left hand, or you can just hook it over your shoulder like so. So we're going to come back to the right foot turned out into our warrior position. You could go a little bit longer if you feel you've warmed up through the legs for that now. And again, that spiral action, inner thigh to outer knee, keeping this area in a good alignment. Okay, so grabbing hold of the strap, let's extend out. We're going to take our left arm up behind the back and then use the right hand to encourage the elbow up towards the ceiling. Now I want to make sure I haven't dropped my chin, so I want to keep the throat open. Let's reach around now with the right arm, and if you can't make the link, then find the other end of the strap, walk the hands together. From here, just a little bit of a lean back. It's not strong, not far. Lift the chest. Keep the legs working strong, however. All right, we're going to go the other way. Again, it doesn't have to be deep. It's about opening through the rib cage. Breathing. And then release back to center and relax. Give the shoulders a bit of a shrug. We'll pivot the feet around. We're going to have that strap now in the right hand. Soften into the knee. Inner thigh spiraling back to outer knee. And then from here, bend the right elbow, help it across with the left. So up and back, but should have freedom to move the head a little bit here. When you feel it's time, bring that left arm around behind, walk the hands closer towards each other, hold it centered. So we're going to go back just a little bit. It shouldn't hurt your back. It's a lift and opening through the front chest. And then we'll go gently over in the other direction, opening through the rib cage and the waist. Top elbow towards ceiling. Breath should be free. Okay, we're going to come back up. Let that go. Shrug it out, walk the feet back in, and we can release the strap. We won't need that. Warrior number one now. So let's start towards one end of the mat. We're facing the short end. I've got my feet maybe a little bit wider than hip width. When I step my right foot forwards, my back foot will turn out, but don't let it go too far. I still want both feet pointing to the top of the mat. So let's see if we can relax the left hip forwards. So this right hip's just easing back a little bit. And then we're going to inhale, take the arms up. Now, can you actually, today, just take the arms a little bit wider so that we can really draw the shoulders down. The palms face each other. And I'm thinking about the outer arms sort of rolling forwards. So my shoulder blades on the back are sort of broadening and hugging in onto my rib cage. But the collarbones at the front have that space. I'm not cramming up. And you can see I can move my neck really happily. So you can either look up or you can look straight ahead. Now we'll step back out. We'll change sides. So just check that this foot hasn't turned all the way out. We're going to rotate it, face the top of the mat. And now we'll hopefully be able to get those hips in a more comfortable position. Back leg lifting up and strong. From here, sweep the arms up, but maybe a little bit wider, a little bit softer. So shoulders down, palms face each other. So thumbs are facing the back wall. Lifting the chest, take the gaze where it's happy. And think of rotating outer arms so that you feel your shoulder blades snugly fitted onto your rib cage. All right, arms back down, step back out. Now we're going to add eagle arms to our warrior one position. So with your eagle arms, first choice is you could go for a nice big hug. So if your shoulders, wrists, elbows, etc. don't like this pose, or it's just a little bit hard to reach, what we want is this big opening across the back of the shoulders. So this is a perfect way to get that. If it's comfortable to do eagle arms, then, and I struggle with this one a little bit, then it's that sort of position. If you can get your hands more together, you can interlock, fine, whatever works for you. But let's go to right foot forwards. So we've got our warrior one, and now I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit more, a little bit deeper. We're actually going to, once we've got the eagle arms, we're going to do a little lift, and then we'll be forward bending. So being able to rest the ribs on the thigh will make it more comfy, and so hence that longer stance now could be to your benefit. Okay, if the back heel comes off the floor a bit. All right, so let's inhale the arms up. It's going to be right arm underneath the left arm. So we get the swing, we make the link, or we go for the big hug, and then we breathe and we lift the chest. So it's a very small back bend. Don't overdo it. Keep the front knee bent. Think of the middle kneecap pointing to your middle toes. All right, next exhale, we're going to glide forwards. Now you could stay here, or you could rest your right ribs on your right thigh, elbows on the inside of the knee. Some of you might be happy to slide further down. Just go where you can, but big opening in the back of the body. So remember, if you've got the hug, elbows again, inside of knee, breathe into the back body. It's all about opening the back. And then we're going to make our way out. So press with the front foot. Inhale. Release the arms. Release the legs. And that's quite strong. It's hard to come out of that one. It's a bit bouncy too once the arms are bound. So let's do the other side. Left foot forwards. Longer stance now if you can. And remember, you can always go wider for more stability. From here, front knee bent. Inhale, arms up. We're going to swing the left arm underneath the right arm. Either hug, or if it works for you, intertwine. Little back bend first, not too much. Easing forwards. So coming down to where you're happy to hold. I've got my left ribs resting on my left knee. You could slide further down if it feels okay. Remember, you have to get out of this. So we release, push through the legs. Take the arms out. Come back out. Give it another little shrug. And then from here, knees are soft. Let's go for a nice, easy swing. That should make you warmer. Okay, back to center. From here, we're going to come down to sit. And normally, I used to teach this with partners, but we can't do partner work at the moment. And if you're at home, you probably don't have anyone around to help. So it's a sit-up, believe it or not. And what we do with partners is we usually link the feet so that we've got something we can work against. If you're at home and you're near a couch, you could hook your feet underneath the couch is another possibility. Or use nothing. And what we're going to do is just very little crunches. So if you had something to, pull your feet against, yes, it's much easier to lift and come up all the way. But even if you are doing that, just come up halfway. So choices with the arm position. You can either have head resting in the hands, elbows wide, or you could hug the arms across the body, or you could extend the arms forwards. Sit-ups, not particularly my forte, so I'll probably have my hands out in front here. And I want to keep my throat open, so don't tuck the chin in too hard. So we breathe in. On the exhale, we're going to lift, and the idea is to contract through the front body, and then we breathe in, we come back down. And we exhale, we lift up. So if you can't get up very high, I'm certainly not high, that's okay. The main thing is we want to feel this contraction, lower back pressing on the floor, and we're going to do a few of these. So that's 4 for me. So if you haven't joined in, join in now. So I'm going to aim for about 10. Not pressing too strong down through my feet. If you want to make it stronger, you could do this with the feet off the floor. And remember, you could also have arms behind. I'm going to make this my last one. Feet back down. Like I said, not my favourite, but really good for these front abdominal muscles that support all those organs underneath. Now, the next one's also a doozy. What we're going to be doing is squeezing and working the oblique sideways muscles. So for this one, feet, knees together. You're going to roll both knees to the left. Shoulders stay on the floor, however. And what we want to do is a straight lift up to the ceiling. Now again, when I have partners, they're holding the knees and the feet down. So you've got something strong that you can lift up against, and then, you know, I'll do a full sit-up. Because we haven't got that working for us, you're not going to get up very high, I can guarantee you that. So again, either hands behind the head, or you could hug them in or forwards. And what I want to try and do is lift up, and then we're coming down. So the squeeze is here in the side body, and we're going to do 5 of these. So that's 2 for me. 3, 4, 5, and if you started after me, do another 2 or whatever it is. You have to make up to 5. So it's quite a little bit different, this one. When you finish that, let's come back to center. We're going to roll the knees to the right. Shoulders again stay on floor to start with, and the intention is to come up, so not rolling to the side. I want to lift straight up that way. So you're not going to get too far. We want 5 on this side as well. You might find one side much easier than the other. This is going to be my last one. And back to center. Let's just have a rest. Let it go. All right. Now, our last pose. We want this one a little bit more restive to wind down with. So you've got choices. If you're feeling keen beans, you want to do a shoulder stand, feel free to do a shoulder stand, but I highly recommend you stack up a heap of blankets under the shoulders so that there's space for the neck. If that's not in your normal practice, skip that one. What you can do instead is either a supported bridge. So if you've got a brick or maybe a bolster of some sort, then you're going to have the knees bent, lift the hips up. You can either do medium height or flat height, that's a little gentler. And we want the brick under the sacrum. So sacrum is just above the buttock crease, a little hard bony part of the spine. And when it's in the right position, shoulders under, it's really comfy. So if it's not feeling comfy, it's not in the right position. I've got space for my throat and my neck, and I'm just making sure my feet and knees are about hip width apart. They're not working, just the back is working. So one more option, if you don't like that one, you've got a little bit of wall, or maybe if you've got a couch. If you've got a couch, you can just put your legs up on the end of the couch or the chair, and that's your Viparati Karani, legs up the wall, or you can go to the wall. I quite like doing this with a bolster or a folded blanket. Bolster just gives me a little bit more elevation. And then from here, I have slight gap between blanket or bolster and the wall, like maybe a fist distance. I start on the very edge. I've got my bottom up on the wall, and then I'm going to bring the shoulders down, rolling up. And this is my legs up the wall position. Absolute favourite, this one. Lumbar's supported. I could stay here half an hour, but we won't be here that long. If you're doing your shoulder stand, you can of course come out at any time, but it does take a little while to set your shoulder stand up. Again, with your bridge, you can always roll back down out of that and take the brick out first. So if you're doing legs up the wall, really soften into the belly, into the pelvis. If you're doing your bridge, just keep that little bit of tension in the back so it's not collapsing to the floor. And if you're doing your shoulder stand, which I'll probably slide away from the wall here, just check that you're extending through the legs and that you're not strangling your throat. So I find it very difficult to talk when I'm in my shoulder stand. So when you feel that you're ready to come back out, once you've come down from those positions, don't rush to come out. So you just roll off to one side, have a little rest. If you did your shoulder stand, maybe a little loose roll of the neck side to side as well. And then from here, we are going to get ready for relaxation. But if you need to give the back a little release before you fully settle down, then certainly knees to chest, little massage. But you'll probably want to get your warm clothes on first. So if you've got a jumper, socks, etc., grab all of that and then get yourself set up. Either lying down on the floor, or you can put your legs up a chair and maybe have some support like a bolster, etc., underneath the hips. Get that on the outside. So hopefully you now have found your comfortable position. And if you are lying down, if you can remember what you felt and noticed at the start of the class, how's it all feeling? Because we've done a lot of work through our torso, a lot of back strengthening, a lot of squeezing through the side and stretching through the side and opening through the front of the chest. So quick scan, starting from the feet and observing if the toes and the soles of the feet can be relaxed. Traveling up the legs, can you soften into the inner thighs and behind the knees? Check in with the outer thighs. Whole leg or both legs heavy and relaxed. Observing into the lower back area. So this is where, especially when we're lying down, we tend to hold a lot of tension there without realizing it. So can you release it, soften it to the floor? If not, bend the knees, give it a little bit more space. Relax the shoulders and even observe the palms, the fingers, are they relaxed and soft? And then finally into the neck, the scalp, the facial muscles. Let any tension go that you can, and check that the tongue is also soft in the mouth. So feeling the whole body, releasing to the floor. Observing the breath in and out through the nose. And adding a count to the breath, so just observing when you start to breathe in, how long that breath goes for. And then do the same with your exhale, counting the length of the exhale. And if you have a different exhale, inhale count, see if you can choose a number to bring it to balance. Breathing in for the same count, breathing out for the same count. And if you wish to let go of that count, you can. Can you now imagine yourself in a rowboat out on a lake? So the surface of the lake, it's got that really nice glassy clear finish. It perfectly reflects the sky and the surrounding edges. And out in the middle of the lake is an island. So you're rowing this boat towards the island, and there's not a lot of effort in the rowing. It's like the boat almost skims across the water. And as you pull on the oars, your rowing action is timed with your breath. So you have this beautiful rhythm of movement and breath as you row towards the island in the middle. And you start to count your breaths backwards from 15 down to 1, so that when you reach the count of 1, you will reach the shore of the island. However, the closer you get to the island, the more relaxed and languid your rowing becomes, and the slower your breath becomes. So when you've reached the count of 1, or perhaps if you've lost the count, think of your boat now reaching the shore of the island. And you step out of the boat onto the soft, warm sand. You find a comfortable seated position facing out towards the water. Settling into meditation. Absorbing that peace, stillness that the island has. Aware of gentle breath. Finding that inner stillness within all of us. Then expanding your awareness, conscious of the body lying in the room, aware of the weight of the body on the floor, conscious of all the sounds that you can hear around you. Extending, stretching arms and legs and body in any way it's comfortable to move. And then when it feels right, rolling over to one side. Taking your time to come into a comfortable seated position. So this week's quote, I don't have the author for. It's a more unusual one. It says, "Maturity is when you have the power to destroy someone who did you wrong, but you just breathe, walk away, and let life take care of them." So let's bring the hands to Anjali Mudra, thumb just in contact with the sternum. Take a nice deep breath in. Namaste. Have an excellent rest of your week. And these recorded classes won't be happening every week now because I have gone back to teaching most of my classes back face to face, which is really enjoyable. But every now and then when I've got the time, I will you know, try and produce another video wherever possible. So next week I'm on holidays. There'll be no video next week. And yeah, thanks for all the feedback I've been getting over the videos. It's lovely to hear people keeping up their practice in their own homes. So thank you very much. Bye.